Good afternoon, everybody. While the presentation is being said, let's get started. First of all, thanks, Matt, for a very interesting conceptual background on the NPS. I think it makes our job easy because we don't have to explain now. I think you all are familiar with the NPS method and what its challenges are. I'm going to talk about the relevance of NPS in a commodity environment, which is a B2B space, and it's easy to think of NPS in a Singapore airline or in American Express, but to think about it in a commodity where the customer really is bothered about just the price. If you can give a good price, then you are definitely a good supplier, and therefore the customer becomes your promoter. So price is the sole consideration. So the big challenge is how do you differentiate in a commodity environment, and that's really the companies who do it successfully really show superior outcomes both on customer loyalty and profitability as well. I don't know how many of you know OLAM, and I don't know whether you know the meaning of the word OLAM. So OLAM is a Hebrew word, not that we are an Arabic company or we have Hebrew traditions, but OLAM means the world. It means transcending boundaries. It means the universe. And so really this is reflecting the ambition of us. And we coined this word 22 years ago. We never thought that we would become so big. But I think we're very pleased with where we have reached. So today we will be talking about what our growth story is, what our business model is, how have we created differentiation, what has been our journey so far in NPS. I think we are relatively very young in NPS, and we believe that NPS is a very reliable indicator of the health of a customer relationship. More importantly, as Bernard said, it's a very useful tool to get feedback. And I think feedback precipitates action, it leads to learning, and therefore continuous efficiency and improvements. We will share with you some key learnings that we have experienced in the early usage of NPS, and how do we propose to overcome some of those challenges and ensure that we are faced with superior outcomes and success, and some roadmap on what a company should look at while implementing NPS. So first, a little bit about OLAM. We started in 1989. We had just 4 customers, 2 employees. I was one of them. And today, the company has grown with 20 commodities over 68 countries. And today we have 11,600 customers. So that's indeed a huge customer base to have in a commodity B2B space. We have a turnover of 15.7 billion. And today, of course, we're going to announce the results, so you will know the latest update on that. We have grown over 50% over the last 20 years and have graduated from a typical trader to an international supply chain manager. We are fully integrated right from what we call a business, various terms, farm gate to dining table, farm to retail. But today, for example, we call our business cotton to fashion. Yeah? So we are links with Nike, with Marks & Spencer, with Bloomingdale, Nordstrom. We are discussing retailer alliance. This integration gives a huge security to our final customer, because you're just not a trader, because you actually are involved in the production and processing of commodities. And that gives a significant credibility to your customer to be able to engage in business with you. We are in a number of products, and I think we are in food products, which are like cocoa, coffee, sugar, cashew, which are more in the B2C space, and the industrial raw material like cotton, rubber, wood, fertilizers. This is more in the B2B environment. Now, if you look at a growth rate, if you look at the commodity industry, any commodity is not growing more than 2 or 3% per annum. That's basically the population growth. But we have been growing at 50%. So what is the secret? We're not going to reveal all the secrets, but I think one of the important things is that we have differentiated, and we will share some of our differentiation formula. So if you look at cotton, from a market share of 2%, today we have 12% global market share in cotton. That's quite an impressive growth. How have we grown? we have grown by various methods. And all this is actually stealing market share from competition. Most of this growth has been market-led. What does that mean? That means that we have been able to get more business from our end customers. They are loyal to us, we have better stickiness, and they prefer us over competitors. So when we relocated to Singapore in 1995, obviously at that time we had not foreseen that there will be so much growth in Asia. But we realized that being here in Singapore, we are far more closer to the customer in the same time zone, being able to serve it better than our competitors in America and Europe. So that has been a significant factor in propelling our growth. If you look at what the underlying features are, and a large part of it really comes from OLAM's values. 2 years ago, in a global management convention of all our managers in Sentosa, we discussed as a team and said customer focus is going to be a key value. And really, all our actions and all our strategies are aligned in that area. Some of other values like ownership to deliver, that means whatever we promise we make, we are going to perform on that. Stretch and ambition, that means you're going the extra mile to please your customer. Ownership and commitment, integrity, mutual respect, all these are values which are very critical for ensuring a superior customer experience. So if you get all these values right across the organization, definitely we can expect superior outcomes in terms of OLAM being a preferred partner, and thus we are able to garner much higher market share. Would like to also mention, I think you must have read this in many articles, that engagement scores directly linked to what we call as customer advocacy. So employee advocacy leads to customer advocacy. There's a direct link. So today our latest engagement score is 83%, which is obviously not the best. The top 20 companies have an engagement score of almost 88%, and the average score of most companies is 60%. But if the company has a very high engagement score, it's more likely that you have customers who are happy and who are satisfied, and therefore you can expect a repeat business from them. Just taking this a bit further and sharing with you some of the formulas that we use to differentiate ourselves. The first is the quality of a management team. You know, the Chandra family was very kind to give its senior managers stake in the company, and we behave like owner managers. We treat it like as if it is our own business. So we work with exceptional integrity, commitment, and passion, which leads to the superior outcomes. I also mentioned to you about the security that our customers have, and can sleep with complete peace of mind that they are buying from an A1 company who has all the logistics, all the infrastructure and investments in the origin. We are a one-stop shop. So you come to us, you can buy cotton from 45 origins, you can buy cotton of all qualities, all grades, for all shipment periods. So really, that's not what all companies can offer. Finally, in terms of relationship-based selling, I think in the B2B business, relationships are very, very critical. And you have to go the extra mile, go beyond the normal, just buying and selling. So when our buyers come to Singapore, for example, from Bangladesh, they come here for medical treatment, they come for shopping, sightseeing, whatever, we help them. I remember a case where I was in Brazil trying to sell cotton to a very difficult buyer, and over a week couldn't get any outcome. Just leaving a day before the weekend, I was, taken for sightseeing by his wife, and over the end of my day, I think his wife made a very positive recommendation about OLAM and me to his husband, and finally on the way to the airport, I landed up with an order. So relationships are important, and I think you have to go the extra mile to work on the relationships. The next is culture. I think culture is a very important element. Just to give you an example, if you go to Thailand, for example, we do business over there. If you do not perform on a contract, the customer doesn't tell you anything. He just ignores you, he discounts you, and suddenly you find that your sales has evaporated. NPS is a useful tool to actually surface all these kind of areas, because the customer is not giving you a feedback. If you go to India and Pakistan, they will fight tooth and nail about every single contract issue. they will not let you off easily. But some markets, they are silent. And how do you therefore uncover? So you have to be aware of the cultural differences which are there in each of the markets, and to be able to therefore handle it more appropriately. More for less. I think everybody wants more for less. So we have to give the impression that we are offering more than just a commodity. So we provide value-added services, we give advice on risk solutions, we give advice on blending solutions, we give details on what's the market going to do, and so all this really help the customer. Finally, customer service. It's a term which is quite maligned because I think it's very difficult to get service. So we have a dedicated manager, Anna, who is sitting here. She is the head of customer service, and she is spearheading the NPS program within OLAM. And we are literally available 24 hours a day. And that's where we make a big difference as compared to our competitors in Europe and US, who are simply not available on weekends because that's their lifestyle, and that's the way we operate. We are far more flexible. So 24 hours a day, anytime, weekends, public holidays. Bangladesh and the Middle Eastern countries, they work on Saturdays, and we are available whole of Saturday to do business. That makes a very big difference and gives a huge security to the consumers that this company is available and is flexible. Our journey so far in NPS, I think you are aware of this, but we went through a process where we had launched a survey, and then we got feedback. This feedback was converted into detractory emails and up and down the organization to take action on the feedback that was received. We are trying to still refine the process. This business that we have currently in cotton is pretty challenging. We have 1,000 customers over 20 markets, very large customer base, and we sell through directly to the customers as well. We also use middlemen, which are called agents in the trade. There are no new customers in this business. So if you lose a customer within the cotton business, basically your market share will come down and your business will be affected very dramatically. So repeat business for us is the key. There are few kinds of cotton where the number of customers are very, very limited. If they leave you off, if they become your detractors, then you are in serious trouble. So what we call as customer stickiness and loyalty is really a key for us to be successful in this business. So we have implemented phase 1, which has been very successful, and we are quite encouraged with the results. And we are now moving ahead to see how we can action on some of the feedback that we received. So we had done survey of the agents as well as the customers, and this is just a sample of what was the feedback we received from the survey. Now, most of the time, when we do a survey, my staff comes and tell me, Jagdish, you are wasting your time. We know it all. Ask me, I will tell you. The customer is not going to write anything different. I know it all. But believe me, there are so many things that you don't know. The survey throws out so many outcomes and so much information that you will never get. A simple thing as that the customer needs in his language a market report on the key happenings is something that we have not implemented for past 10 years. We just implemented 6 months ago after the NPS results, and we found that it led to tremendous customer satisfaction. It led to customers calling us and asking us, your report is saying this, what does it mean, what should we do? So it led to some kind of more interaction and more business. They said they want risk solutions and risk advice because commodity prices are very volatile, and most of the times our end users can't understand what's driving the volatility of the prices. That's where we help them. We recently had a trip to Indonesia and to Thailand and to China, trying to tell them about what are the dynamics of the market, how can you protect yourself, and what are the risk solutions that you should look at, which are affordable, which are customized, which are flexible, and can meet your requirements. So I think this is a tool to drive change. You have a feedback, and as Matt said, that unless you close the loop, this is all a futile and meaningless exercise. So you have to close the loop. You have a feedback, and the customer will not give you a feedback again or fill a survey form again if you're not doing anything about it. So listening to it is therefore quite critical. This is a tool also to drive actions across all levels in the organization. So what are the, suppose at my level, in the morning, I don't want to hear good news, because good news is very good, but I want to get all the bad news. What are the total customer issues I have? Who are becoming my detractors? Where am I losing the business? What can I do about it? Similarly, at the transaction level, I want my logistics people and my people down below in our origins and markets to really get daily feedback on what are the areas they need to improve so that we can get more loyalty and more stickiness with the customers. Now, we faced a number of challenges in NPS, and I think I mentioned the biggest was the pushback from the team. This is a new management fad, this is a new concept, it's just, waste of time, it's too much paperwork, we don't have the time for it, blah, blah, blah. It was, a lot of intellectual debate, and I think that people are afraid of NPS because it creates transparency, it creates burden of accountability. When somebody gives you a score of 2, you have to wake up and ask, why did I get a score of 2? There's something dramatically wrong. So that's the thing, that because people don't want things to be transparent. The other was the big biases and the challenges in getting a survey form filled. People don't like surveys. Marriott survey, American Express survey. How many surveys am I going to fill? I get so many surveys. So why should I fill a survey if it only means nothing? I'm not going to get any feedback. So there's a survey fatigue. People don't really, but I know well that if a survey is designed well and communicated well, it can give you some very good outcomes. Lack of an early warning system or detractor alerts. So if you don't have a warning system from all what you're doing, that you must quickly take action, what Matt said about the low-hanging fruit even. Just low-hanging. If you get an alert, just go and do something about it so that the problem is resolved. Now, one thing which we realized when we did this survey, we found that our customer database is in 3 places, in 3 different IT systems. So we said, how the hell can we even get any data for the customer? So what it led to was that we said, let's first get all this data in one place. And that's an exercise which has been recently completed. And we are now benefiting from this because now we have all the data. But this thing probably could not have been uncovered unless we really did this NPS survey. So we believe that NPS can add very significant value to our business. I think the first is customer retention, which is so critical in this market. I mean, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time to develop a customer. If you lose it because of a simple mistake, then I think it's a big problem. Also, what we talked about was the lifetime value of a detractor or a promoter. I mean, that's very, very significant. I don't know how that has to be calculated. Maybe Matt has to guide me. But, the lifetime value is very, very significant. We have to identify the issues which are causing the detractors to go against you and save the customer accounts at risk. There are many cases where timely action on the detractors, on all the issues in the business, can really help you to stabilize your business, ensure that you don't lose market share to competitors, and therefore generate a more healthy bottom line. One important thing is this word promoter, and actually I'm a promoter of NPS here. So I'm not a detractor, I'm a promoter of NPS because I believe in it. I think in our business, we have opinion leaders. In the B2B business, in every market, every origin, you will have certain opinion leaders. Their opinion counts. So if I go to 5 opinion leaders in Indonesia, and they come to realize that Olam is a great company, it performs on the commitments, then they're going to spread the good word around, what we call as positive word of mouth. So that's we call as activating promoters. That's quite critical because using opinion leaders, you can influence the entire market. And you can do this in a very focused and targeted manner, that you're not generally going and doing a mass promotion, but you are identifying that whose opinion counts in the marketplace. So today, for example, we know that in Thai market, there are 4 people. So one of them is the chairman of the Thai Textile Mill Association, another is the chairman of some regulatory body. We go and talk to them. And we also find out what they think about us and try to overcome whatever issues they may have in their mind. Some of them could be just perceptions because they don't have the information. Many people don't realize how big we are or what kind of information or service that we can provide. The other thing which is that it lowers service costs and process. And this is an indirect benefit, because when you have more promoters in your business, that means less irritating discussions, less hassles, less cumbersome phone calls, because the promoters like you. So that a problem is going to be solved more amicably. The moment you have more detractors in your business, can you imagine the amount of time on phone calls, on emails, is so much unproductive time. That all can be avoided. Also, in the last NPS seminar, I remember that if you have more promoters and if you have a better NPS score, it also gives you a little bit of a right to get away with blunder and some mistakes. If you have a mistake, your customer is not going to penalize you too heavily. But if you have too many detractors, it will be the other way around. Even for small things. I didn't get my vegetarian meal on an airline, I will create humbug, But if I like the airline, I said it's fine, and once in a while it happens. Doesn't matter. Increased profit per customer compared to competitors. So ultimately, our CEO, he tells me that, tell me, are you making a better profit from your customer compared to your competitors, like Do It Dreyfus or Cargill or anybody else? If you have a method or a roadmap to achieve that, then you are certainly doing a better job. So NPS can add really a lot of value in a number of areas. And I agree with Matt that it is not a score. Please remember, this is not a score. It's not like a score that you have on your medical condition or you go to the gym and your weight. It's just directionally, it's a measure. You have to take it in the true spirit. I think let's not get lost in the scores, because what is important is to drive the action coming from the feedback. Not from the score, but the comments and whatever is the information that you're getting through the surveys. Very important is to save the accounts at risk. Every business will have some accounts where you're losing market share to competition, or where you're not performing to expectations of your customer, and therefore you are kind of not getting the required market share. How do you identify that? And what is the mechanism to get to that? Which are the accounts at risk? The first important thing here is that it has to be timely. You cannot discover 2 years later that, my God, that's, I lost that account, but you're discovering it 2 years later. There's no point. The moment it is happening, the moment you get some signals that I'm going to lose this account, you have to really target those customers and focus efforts to resolve those issues. That's quite critical. So really we come to now, what are the key learnings from NPS that I'd like to share with you, and what are some of the key success factors. So first is, we can have a lot of intellectual debate in companies whether NPS is right, wrong, whatever. In the end, you have to come to a conclusion. You have to hang your hat and say, this is what the metric I'm going to follow. The CEO is going to say to the organization, this is what I want as a metric, as a discipline, and only one metric in any one company. It has to be non-negotiable. It should not be optional. So once that is really the tone from the top, then I think it just gives a very clear guideline of what is the requirement of top management. The next is bottoms-up approach. So here there are many things like employee engagement, customer advocacy, the various measurement and the improvements on the closed loop process. All these are part of ensuring that the execution of NPS is done in an excellent manner. So there has to be a clear roadmap on what is the survey methodology, what is the closed loop process, how are you going to action the various outcomes within the organization, and all this combination of top-down and bottom-down process can really change the customer centric approach for the company. So what are the key learnings that we have seen? One is that we need committed leadership in this. We need the top leaders in the company to be really committed to NPS. Without this commitment, all this is waste of time, it's paper. No use. Second is create alignment. So when there is alignment, there is peak performance. Can you imagine there is no alignment? You cannot do anything. How do you create alignment? So you have to share the vision, you have to share the roadmap, you have to get consensus, you have to influence your team. And beyond all this, if it doesn't happen, it is simply that yes, there's no choice, you have to do it. So there's a soft way and there's a hard way. Communication, I think Matt mentioned it very clearly, is communication. It's very, very important. I think one of the things that we learned was that when we did the first phase of NPS, we didn't explain enough to our customers and agents that what is NPS all about. I think it's very critical to actually personally make a call, because all of us don't read emails, we get thousands of emails. So to personally make a call and to make them understand that this is what we're trying to do, we need 5 minutes of your time, this is a very simple question, when we get the feedback, we will come back to you with our improvement areas. I think it's a confidence building measure. That communication is vital, because if that communication is not there, the survey is going to be a failure. And this is one area which needs really a lot of attention. It has to be a serious communication, both verbal and oral, so that you can get some very good outcomes. I think we mentioned enough about the closed loop process. And I like this word closed loop, because I think if a loop is open, I mean, it's open-ended and will lead to leakages. So you have to close the loop. Unless you close the loop, the business outcomes will not come, and you will not be able to get to the desired goal. Also, the NPS should not be linked to the incentives of a manager, because the moment you try to do that, people start gaming and scheming. So I will contact the top 5 customers who would like to give me a score above 8, and just do some scheming in the sample size so that it will be a brilliant score. But it helps me, but not the company. What the company wants is a very true and transparent score. And therefore, it's better that you don't link incentives, managerial incentives, to NPS. The other thing is that we do not compare scores across regions. The score of China should not be shared with Brazil, because then there is competition, unnecessary competition. China has to worry about its own problems. They have to do what is good for China and not worry about Brazil. They are both independent. So I think if you do some of these things, I believe that this can lead to a more effective operations and benefits from the customer centric situation. So ultimately, if you all do this right, what will success look like? What will we call as being success? How would we rate ourselves that we have done a fantastic job? And what will be the key behaviors which will demonstrate that? I think the first thing is that we will have a DNA of customer advocacy built into the organization. That means we will have people who are talking about customer satisfaction. We are talking about a customer-centric culture. We are saying how we can influence customer loyalty. People will understand what Matt said, the drivers of loyalty. We have a customer in Mauritius who values OLAM for the big ginning operations we have in Zimbabwe. So we know that he likes this, and therefore we're going to leverage this to the maximum. There are some who value that we have an office in Singapore, we can offer very friendly advice. It's a big pleasure to deal with us. Some, they like to deal because it's hassle-free operation. So we have to find out what the drivers of loyalty are. And when the organization gets into that mode, all decisions are made through the lens of the customer and their experience. And when you start making decisions on that basis, you are taking the customers, you're giving primacy to the customer, you are taking all feedback from him and making the decisions based on that, it will lead to a very significant benefit for the company. The other behavior which becomes embedded is that you become a highly learning organization. What I said about feedback, learning, action. So it's a feedback mechanism. Sometimes I feel in life the biggest thing you can benefit is to actually get a feedback, a timely feedback. Somebody gives you a feedback in time. It may be about your health, it may be about your career, it may be about your life, anything else. Same goes for business as well. If you get timely feedback, you begin to act on it, you begin to learn from it. Finally, a closed loop system. It becomes a part of your operation. So the organization says that there is a feedback, Has the loop been closed? Not. What are the areas in which the loop has not been closed? Why is it still not being closed? When will it be closed? So we close the loop. We learn to close the loop. Finally, we achieve superior economics. So there's suddenly a big change in the economics of the operation. Your market share grows, your customers are happy, you get more attention, there's nobody talking bad about you, you have more business, you have business on better terms, you get better prices, you get first right of refusal, your entire wish list is getting fulfilled. Your sales team is happy, they're energized, they are motivated, they feel you are working for a very progressive and good company. And all these things, first of all, are not permanent because you have to keep at it. It doesn't mean that you can rest on your past laurels and say, I have achieved this and therefore from tomorrow everything is fine. No. You have to still keep on looking for that feedback, keep on looking for that learning and keep acting on it. I mentioned about lower service costs. It's very critical in the business. You do not want irritating customers who will waste a lot of your service time or of your salespeople time. So once you have this high level of customer-centric culture, you'll definitely achieve that. Now all this, what does it mean? What is it we're doing? All this actually means that you've secured for yourself and your organization a unique competitive advantage. A competitive advantage your customers or your competitors will not replicate so easily. And therefore you can build on that competitive advantage and scale up your business quite confidently. So this is my conclusion, and I think the most important thing is that you please always remain focused and never look back. Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
Thanks very much, Jagdish. That was fantastic. Does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask? We've got a few minutes. Okay, there's a few here. Start with you, sir.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm quite impressed by the culture you managed to put in place in your organization. Could you elaborate a bit more how you managed to get the rest of your company on the same page? Because as you said, people were thinking it was a waste of time and they didn't want necessarily to be on board. How did you get them really to adhere and to start acting the way you wanted them to?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and that's really the first obstacle that any company faces while implementing an NPS. So what are the questions and what are the roadblocks that people talk about? The first is it valid for a commodity business? So we got to Satmetrics and we asked them, can you give more examples of, successful NPS in a B2B business? So we got various examples and we relayed those back to our team. The second thing we got, we told them that, that ultimately, whether it is a B2B business or B2C business, customer satisfaction and customer excellence is the key to achieve the outcomes. So first is getting that belief ingrained within your team that this is a good path to pursue, and to see that we provide them full support, because one of the big concerns is that will it increase my workload, because I don't have time to even do my normal sales call. Now NPS, I've got 10 other things to do. So one is to provide additional support. So Satmetrics team can provide that support because they take some part of that load, and therefore they coordinate with the customers and your the whole process. And then you need to therefore also provide, because it is an investment you need to make, because definitely we have seen that the returns far outweigh the investment. So the second part is the investment, and to see that that is done before. The third thing in alignment is to actually share a good vision of where actually this will get to and what kind of economics can prevail from this. So really understanding what we said, that what is the lifetime value of a customer, promoter or detractor, being able to quantify that. Even talking about it, it actually brings a lot of conviction in your mind. So these were a couple of steps that we took to get alignment within the organization.
Okay. We have a question. Sorry, I'll be with you.
You mentioned about your customers and your agents. What are the differences, if any, in the way you implement and close the loop between customers and agents? Are there differences between the two?
Yeah, so you see, we have 1,000 customers. Maybe out of that, 100 customers we deal directly. The rest we deal through agents. So when we, for example, in a country like Korea, because we don't understand the Korean language, we can't talk to the customer directly. So we have an agent based in Korea who is our ambassador, who will convey our, message to the customer. So in all our initiatives, what we try to do really is to OLAMize the agent. So we actually position our agent, and most of the agents are exclusive agents, although they're agents, but we try to position them as OLAM employees. They are not a different entity in itself. So they in fact carry OLAM name cards with the OLAM logo that they are representing OLAM. Therefore, they reflect our values, they reflect our strategy and what we are trying to achieve in the marketplace. So that gives a lot of assurance, a lot of confidence to the customers. But also the agent network that we have about 60 agents. They are a powerful network we have for coordinating with the customers, because it's very difficult to be with 1,000 customers almost every day, because how many destinations can you travel to? So these agents are very effective in carrying our messages, in providing feedback from the customers. And in fact, in the survey that we did, these agents went and got the forms filled from the end customers. So they, let's say the CEO doesn't have time to fill up a form, or he doesn't want to go to the internet to log in, and so they go and help him and try to facilitate the whole process. Yep.
Oh, sorry, I think we had one here. We've got time for maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, thanks very much for sharing. In your presentation, you have this very nice looking scatter plot with the points scaled according to some pipeline. Can you be better explain what this chart is about?
Which one?
In one of your slides.
Yes.
You have a scatter plot with the points scaled according to something called pipeline.
Pipeline?
Yeah. Maybe you could explain.
Can you tell me which one is it? This one?
No, further down.
This?
Nope. The bubble plot.
Bubble.
Okay.
This one? This is the one. Yeah, so this is basically trying to map the NPS score with the size of the accounts. And we are trying to see that where the NPS score is low, those are the accounts at risk. So we're just trying to do a map. For example, it is to focus your energy in the right direction. So let's say I have 10 accounts at risk with a score below 4, for example. I will choose according to the revenue. So there's a $40 million account that's more important than a $2 million account. So to be able to map the size of your customers' revenues along with the NPS scores is a useful way to really focusing your efforts. Because in the end, I have only a 5-member sales team. I cannot go and address all the issues of the detractors. I'll have to choose. So all these methods are quite useful to be able to choose that where actually my maximum bang for the buck lies, and where I should focus my efforts to get the maximum return. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahidwe. Yes, down here.
Hi, could you please share like how many percentage of the customers you ask the NPS question, and what's the response percentage?
Yes, I think good question. We had surveyed, how many customers surveyed? 200. Yeah, customers? We surveyed almost 400 customers. I think it was a very big size, but our response rate on customers was very low. But with agents, it was almost 53%. So I think the low response rate of customers was because, first of all, a lot of customers in China don't understand the language, don't understand the process and why it is to be done. Then a lot of customers are CEOs, so they generally have a allergy to surveys. So as I told you that we had to do some kind of a a training method or education to the customers before you do a survey. So before a survey lands on my desk, if nobody has called me, I'll put it in a waste paper basket. Because why should I fulfill a survey? I need somebody to call me. I just don't want to get a form on my table. That's me. I'm not saying it's true for all. Maybe some people may think differently, but I think if you really want a good feedback, the purpose of that survey and that it is really a serious survey, that communication is very critical. And that's required really at the top level. Yeah. One more thing I wanted to just share with you is that our customers have various levels. So we have a CEO, the managing director, then you have a purchasing department, and you have a quality control department, you have a spinning department. So you have to see that you get good scores from all the 4 levels, because maybe the buyer is very happy, but the production people are very not happy with your delivery. So it could be a conflicting signal, and you have to be able to understand where actually you should make that change.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'd love to take lots more questions
thank you.
from Jagdish.
So thank you, and wish you all the best in your NPS journey. Thank you.
Switch off, I'll get that message.